What if your anxiety isn't random and it's not just your workload, hormones, or overthinking? What if your body is reacting to something your heart keeps trying to minimize? In this episode of Girl Talk Mental Health, I'm sitting down with special guest therapist Rabeea Baloch. I hope I said it right. I know I didn't. I'm sorry. To unpack the hidden relationship dynamics that quietly keep your nervous system on alert. So welcome everybody to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So tell the audience a little bit about who you are.
Yeah. My name is Rabeea Baloch. I am a licensed chemical dependency counselor. I'm also a licensed professional counselor. I most of the time deal with people who have been through narcissistic abuse from their partners or their parents. I help them heal because this is like a very tricky dynamic. Healing from narcissistic trauma is like very, very complex. So I do deal with complex trauma, sexual abuse trauma, a lot of different other dynamics that go into that. And I help them gradually find the parts of themselves that they have lost in this process. I am EMDR certified and I'm IFS level 2 trained as well.
Okay, awesome. You have a lot of great things going on. Now, Rabia, I'm sorry I said it wrong, but that's a beautiful name. It is a very beautiful name. So, welcome to Girl Talk Mental Health. Are you ready to dive into this impactful conversation today?
Let's do it. And
Let's
thank you so much
go.
for bringing me here.
So, when a woman, and sometimes men too, says, I don't know why I'm anxious, I just am, what are the first relationship patterns you often listen for?
So it depends person to person because everybody is in a unique situation. But as a therapist, when somebody comes to me with, like, I'm confused all the time or I'm anxious all the time, I would want to know, like, were you confused and anxious before the relationship started, or that has happened over the time while you are in the relationship? And then we look for the signs that, are you dealing with low self esteem? Are you dealing with, the consequences anxiety? Because sometimes when you do a little thing, just like, you brought water in the room for, like, your nighttime routine, and then you're anxious, and then you cannot figure out what's going on with your body, or like what is going on with your emotions. But then you want to look at the past patterns of if there were any consequences of making the mistakes. So there are a few things, like, that you look into when somebody comes with this relationship anxiety kind of deal.
That's good information. But what about, because you deal with narcissistic relationships and everything, so what if that anxiety is coming from a safety response?
Yeah. So in that case, like, you want to analyze what is the word safe mean to this person. What does their safe routines, what is their safe places, what are their, safe to do things. And then again, like, you help them see and analyze what actually like safety may look like. Because a person who has been through or who is going through, actively going through the narcissistic abuse, it's more like their perception of safety changes over time.
Mm.
I'm going to give you an example. I had somebody come to me asking for therapy, and then they were like, I am always confused. I don't know. There's something wrong with me. This is something that I hear a lot when people are coming from the narcissistic abuse. Is like, there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with the other person. There's nothing wrong with him or like my in-laws, but there's something wrong with me. And then we sit down and analyze. So what does wrong look like to you? What does safe look like to you? So safe is that I have to report everything to my partner, otherwise I don't feel safe. And then you sit down with them and then you analyze, like, what does not looking safe mean to you? And then you see that, they have this whole somatic response, like, their whole body is, shaking. And then unless until they finish the whole scenario, they tell the whole story, they do not feel safe. So the safety, the perception of safety may look different to everybody else, than the people who are living with active narcissistic abuse or who have been through the narcissistic abuse.
That's interesting. So I'm going to ask a little twisty question. Has there ever been a time when you've been giving therapy to someone and then the partner came unexpectedly?
That has happened actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not even the partners in the relationship, it was somebody else that was getting therapy. And it was online, so in the same household. And
Uh,
you know, these two people had this conversation, and I asked that person that, have you considered family therapy? But I have had clients where, like, one partner is getting the therapy, the other partner wants to come to me for individual therapy. And I'm like, I don't do that. Or they want to influence somehow, like they would make, there had been cases there would, like, where they would make the partner feel like they have some kind of access to me,
mm-hmm.
and I'm doing what the partner is asking me to do.
Mm,
Or they would make it look like I'm the monster who wants to break the house, which, like, as a therapist, that is never our intention. We just want
right.
to empower our clients.
That's good. So, what are the most overlooked quiet signs a relationship is fueling anxiety?
I think the most overlooked sign in my eyes is that when you start losing trust in yourself, when you start losing your identity as a human being bit by bit, that is a very quiet but deadly sign. You only see yourself in the perception or in the view of others, and you're always thinking, what is this person going to think about me?
Mm,
Any important decision you're taking or making, anything that you're doing, you're thinking, like, it's like, I call it the mental slavery, because it's like, you always want to make your master happy.
mm,
And everything you're doing, you're thinking about this person who may or may not approve this, or may be angry with this, or it does not settle well. In this process, you lose those small particles of yourself, like bit by bit. A person who was once confident, a person who was once mentally independent, is now dependent of this other human being, of making the small decisions that, should I buy a cupcake or not?
right. So, what about the emotional unpredictability, like not knowing what their, how the other narcissists, they have those mood swings. One minute they're nice, then they're not nice, and you just kind of never really know. What are some things that a woman can do, or a man, about the emotional unpredictability when they're in a narcissistic relationship?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking this question, because most of the time, see, that cycle of abuse does not start as, I'm a bad person, I'm going to give you consequences if you do not listen to what I do or what I ask you to do, right? It starts with small irritations, like, the frustration. Oh, you didn't do that? Why did you not do that? Goes to, like, I told you to do that. Why would you not do that? To the, like, I'm gonna tell you, like, this is gonna hurt you so bad. And then eventually, like, it goes into, and then to groom and condition people, sometimes people manipulate the situations.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody, um, whose ex would come into their house, because they had access. They would not tell the person, but they would come into their house, change the settings and whatnot, to make them feel like, that they're crazy. So
Yeah, I've been here type of thing. Yeah.
yes, yes. So number one thing that I tell my clients who are actively involved in the situation, or who are healing, is number one, trust yourself. Start trusting yourself, no matter what the other person's saying. Not all battles need to be won. It's okay if they're saying, like, today is a sunny day and it's raining outside, you say okay. So you save yourself, but you trust yourself. Number two is empower yourself. I see women especially, and then I have seen men too, but women most of the time losing their selves. Like, they would not want to wake up, they would not want to, like, wash their face, or even if they're doing, like, everything, going to work, giving money to this narcissistic person, cleaning the house, cooking for this person. but not taking 10 minutes to spend on themselves because they
Mm,
are made to believe that this is a waste of time, or like, this is not going to work out. So number one, trust themselves. Number two, spend time with themselves. Give yourself importance. You are important. I'm a person of God, so I'm going to say, like, God made you and he loves all of us. So love yourself because God loves you. Yes, you are in this situation, which is not optimal, not perfect, but eventually you will be out of the situation, even if you stay in this relationship. So the third thing is start empowering yourself, start building your resource network,
mm.
friends, things, coping skills. If you can get to therapy, I recommend that highly, because I've heard people saying, like, oh, I do my own therapy. I talk to myself. Yeah.
Oh no, now it's Chat GPT too is the therapist.
Yeah. But no, the human to human relationship in a therapeutic relationship, it can do wonders.
Mm,
These people are like, and there are all kinds of, like, therapists available, low cost, no cost, whatever, and insurance and everything. What that will do is help you bring back that validated stance on your own self. You get validated by your own self, and you get validated by the therapist in a way that reinforces that validation that you have lost in this relationship.
mm. Yeah, that's some good information. Well, I think it's a great point for us to take a quick commercial. But before we take a commercial, I want the viewers to think about this one thing. And what does anxiety look like for you, especially in relationships? Do you feel like you have to walk on eggshells, or you always looking out for unpredictable emotions? Are you in any of those types of emotional unhealthy relationships? So think about that question, and then we come back. We're going to have the second half of Girl Talk Mental Health with Rabeea telling us more about these narcissistic relationships and things that you can do to overcome them. So stay tuned to the second half. We'll be right back.
You weren't meant to break. You were set apart. What if your deepest pain was the birthplace of your greatest purpose? Meet Gingerbread, a child caught in the chaos of her mother's depression and suicide attempts. She never asked for trauma, shame, or to feel invisible, but she found something greater. Set Apart, the journey to find hope through loneliness, shame, and death is more than a book. It's the breakthrough you didn't know you needed. If you've ever said, "I'm fine," when you were falling apart. If you've ever thought, "This story isn't for me," it is. Don't let fear, excuses, or busyness rob you of healing. This book will shatter the silence, stir your soul, and remind you, you were never forgotten. You were set apart. Set Apart, the journey to find hope in times of shame, loneliness, and death, by author Virginia Dale Manning. Available now, because hope can't wait.
Okay, so welcome back to the second half of Girl Talk Mental Health. We have Rabeea here. She is telling you about narcissistic behaviors. She's a mental health therapist. That is her niche, her specialty. So if you missed the first half, she gave you a lot of good signs and triggers to help you to know about narcissistic behaviors and some things that you can do. So Rabeea, let's talk about body signals. What are the nervous system clues that someone's relationship is dysregulating them? Because sometimes people think it's normal. So, what are some signs?
So it all starts with the negative cognitions, like, your thought pattern. This is the first thing I tell my clients to be aware of. Like, if you did something that the other person would not approve, I want you to hear what you're saying to yourself. That's where we start. The second thing is I ask my clients to scan their bodies. How was your body's, like, clues and signs inside, like feelings, sensations, any emotions that are coming up before something happened and after something happened.
Mm-hmm.
So you find yourself being anxious. I want you to scan your body. Where is this anxiety? Sometimes it's in the chest, sometimes it's in the shoulder, sometimes it's in the stomach. And then I want you to, like, whenever this episode passes, I want you to take a baseline when there's nothing wrong. Do you still have that feelings? Do you still have those sensations in your body? So these are the somatic symptoms. These are the cues you're looking for, because not only your body is giving you signal, your body is also keeping the score. Your body is also keeping in place the triggers and, like, the reaction to the triggers. So you may not be able to understand at that time, but when you start scanning your body time to time, you will be able to figure out what is going on. One thing that I always tell my sexual abuse survivors is that, you know, sometimes you will smell this perfume and you wouldn't know, like, why you're getting irritated or why you're on the edge, why you're shaking, but that smell may be a trigger. Sometimes you'll hear a voice and you'll be like anxious, and your body is giving you all these signs and you cannot even stand. You're having this panic, episode, but that is your trigger. So you have to, like, start scanning your body, being a little bit mindful that what your body is saying to you. What are the signs that your body is giving? I have also seen that in long-term abusive relationship, people come up with diabetes because of the stress, uh,
Mm.
come up with high blood pressure, which is, like, very common one, heart diseases, but also sometimes like eating disorders, because they want to be that perfect body that their partner approves, um, or anxiety disorders. Sometimes, like, they would come up with panic disorders. Their body stops working and they don't know why. So these are some of the somatic symptoms, but again, like, every human being's situation is unique. And I cannot just sit here and, like, give that, oh, this, and somebody actually has the generalized anxiety disorder and they're like, no, this is my partner doing this. So I highly recommend that you go to a therapist that you feel like, you'll be comfortable with, you feel safe with, and help them help you.
And I'm glad you mentioned that part too, especially about the being an individual. Like everyone's signs and symptoms are the same, and everyone's signs and symptoms mean something different. And and also when you talked about how sometimes their mate can make them feel like they're not seeing or doing or whatever that they think they are, what technically gaslighting or whatever. So what is like one big sign or one of the signs that a woman can tell when something is a normal conflict or when it's like something that's not normal and it's like some chronic stress or anxiety based off of that unhealthy relationship?
I am so glad that you asked this question, because people, as humans, when we go into relationships, we have our own trauma baggage that we bring into that relationship. So I don't want your listeners and viewers to think that everything that they're feeling negative is because of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Number one thing that I always ask my client is, if you did something and if that other person said something, and then now they're saying that they didn't, but it never happened, and you have the evidence that it actually happened, that's your first sign that there are red flags in this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That, in a social situation, anytime your partner is making you feel like you're less than, that is another sign as well.
Mm-hmm.
First person to person, but these are few signs that, like, or the biggest jackpot is, like, if you don't want to have sex and they pressurize you in some way or threaten you to have sex, that's another one, big one.
Mm-hmm. Those are some good ones because sometimes, people, they're in their own heads a lot, so they don't know if something is normal, if it's something like a red flag, warning sign type of thing. And the many women or men, but we kind of focus on women a lot, stay because they don't want to start over. They feel guilty or they don't want to look like a failure, which is why they stay. So, how do you address those emotional barriers in those relationships?
So unfortunately, what happens is that that gradual conditioning makes a person feel like they do not have a life outside. So
Mm-hmm.
the abuse is, like, they isolate you, they financially abuse you. Even if a person is working, they do not have the control over their money. And in situations like they're Pakistani and Indian, because I'm my background is from that area, what they do is they wouldn't let the woman work.
Mm,
So they control the financial situation. And now she is sitting and, in this desperation that I cannot live like that, but she has nowhere to go. She does
mm,
not have connections to nobody. She does not know anybody. She maybe sometimes feel like the financial situation is not in her favor, so she won't get the kids. I have seen this and heard this so many times. Um, but do talk to people. Um, get somebody involved. There are so many, like, helplines available in the area that you live. 24/7 there are chat help available. Ask questions, know about your rights, know what do you have, like, even though it looks like you don't have anything, any life outside this person, you do. I have
mm,
seen so many people coming for with like nothing out of the relationship, uh, and they're building their life by themselves, because all you need is you as a human being, and you have the potential, you have the strength to do this.
that's good information. You hear that, ladies? You have the power, and men. So what and that's a good point because some women already and men are already strong, especially in public, right? They at work, you was never suspect some people at work or people in your social circle or wherever you may go that they are going through certain unhealthy relationships, but they really are. There's some strong but unraveling people in private. So what would you say to that woman besides what you just said about be strong?
So I would say that, there was this attorney general's, like, training for sexual abuse survivors, as their advocate. And we learned in that, in on average a person would leave the relationship 7 to 8 times, and the hardest and the most dangerous time is when they actually leave the relationship. So I want you to be cautious. I want you to write down the signs that you're seeing as a problem. I want you to involve law in some capacity, and I want you to get therapy. Like, even if you can't get to the therapist, again, there are 24/7 helplines available. Ask, get verified, like, get that evidence that this is wrong behavior. And also, be safe. Don't let your plans be known. Don't, like, so if there's a fight going on, don't say that, I'm going to leave you tomorrow.
Mhm.
Be safe, have a safe plan, and then, like, execute that plan very safely and in a, like, calm manner.
And I like the way you keep giving these steps, like each answer or each process, there's a step. And steps are important because it helps you to, first this, second that, third that, instead of, if you're in a state of crisis, you really can't think. So having those simple steps are important. Which brings me to the next thing, some more steps I'm gonna ask. And you can already reuse some of the stuff you already said because you already gave some good information. So what are 3 steps that someone can take this week to regain emotional safety, whether they stay, whether they set boundaries, or they prepare to leave? What are 3 steps?
So number one is, ladies, make it till you fake it. Stand in front of the mirror. When people, women especially, are in an abusive relationship, that anxiety inducing relationship, it is hard for them to just look at themselves. I've heard this so many times, that I do not see myself in the mirror. I want you to look at yourself. I want you to see yourself as the person that who's going to save you. And I want you to say this, repeat after me. I am stronger than I think I am. And keep saying this to yourself, reminding yourself that, like, you are the person you have been looking for. That's our IFS in there. Number two is, like, again, write down things, the ambiguity of the relationship, the way that people make you feel like, you are crazy, you're delusional, you're just making up stuff. Start writing stuff, and then make sure that the other person does not have access to that, so you can vouch yourself, you can validate yourself that that actually happened. Not just write down an event, write down what happened before, what happened after, and then just like I told you, like the mindfulness thing, think about what is happening in your body, pay attention, and write that down as well. So you will start, building a map for yourself. You'll start building a system. And the third thing is, start doing breathing exercise. There are so many good breathing exercises, coping skills available on YouTube. Start incorporating some of these skills so you can regulate yourself when the other person does not want you to be regulated. They want you to be angry, they want you to be frustrated, so you say something that they're going to make you regret. So I want you to, number one, understand. Number two, write it down so you have a visual, understanding of what it is. And number three, regulate yourself. The first step and the last step is, for yourself and empowering yourself as a human being.
That's good. Well, Miss Rabeea, tell the audience where they can find you at, and if you have something going on, so they can connect with you beyond today.
Thank you so much. First of all, Virginia, I really want to appreciate you calling me in here. I do, I appreciate your work so much. Thank you so much for, doing the God's work. Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. This is a need for the communities, like the community that I belong to. I definitely gonna forward the information because we all need to hear, the work that you're doing and the hard work that you're putting in. I have a website, www.magnoliacounselingwellness.com, so people can reach out to that website. But right now I'm working on my PhD program, so like super busy at this time. But I'm sending positive vibes to all of you all, and all the good things happening to you next week.
Okay, perfect. Well, connect with her. Even, she might not be able to get with you now, but I'm pretty sure on her website she has some resources and things that you can use in the meanwhile, or rewatch this over and over again. And because she gave so many steps, I know you didn't get it in this one 30-minute show. So you're going to have to rewatch it, take some notes, do the things that she suggested in this show. So thank you so much, Rabeea. And if you've ever been feeling more anxious lately, racing thoughts, chest tightness, overthinking every conversation, this has not been a random show. This is just for you. So once again, rewatch this episode with a friend, somebody whose hand you can hold, and be sure to tune in next week so you don't miss another episode, any episode that finally puts language to what your body has been trying to say. So see you all next week for another episode of Girl Talk Mental Health.
Thank you for joining us for Girl Talk Mental Health. Remember, your mental health is your wealth. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to at Virginia Del Manning.